Hello everyone. Whespir has an interesting past. We know that Melody and Whespir knew each other in their childhood, but both the wiki, the Artist SMP wiki, and Whespir's book 3 from Melody's therapy stream had conflicting stories, so I just tried to piece it together to make one that sounded most plausible. So here's what I think happened. So Whespir left their village as a child because their government was corrupt and mistreated them. Keep in mind, this is a village, not the village with a J. I don't know why it's called that, but this is also where Whespir's dislike of the government began. They traveled for a bit, and then they met Melody in Melody's village. Here's where it gets confusing, but my theory on what happened is that Whespir stayed with Melody in Melody's village, and then something happened again that made Whespir leave. Happened in that village to make Whespir leave again. During this time, as they traveled, they wrote book 3. Judging by the name, there's probably 2 other books, which document the travels before they meet, or before leaving Melody. Book 3 documents the rest of the journey from leaving Melody all the way to, you'll see, exactly on page 15, where it says the rest of the pages are torn and burnt to shreds. None of it is legible. That means that Whespir must have done it for the book, because as they were traveling or roaming around, they didn't really meet anyone. They went to some villages to gather supplies, but that couldn't have, but they're just, okay, there's not going to be those people that tore up the book and burned it. It just doesn't really make sense. I think that Whespir did it not because they wanted to, but because something was controlling them. I'll get back to that. In the book, Whespir writes that they fell into a bunch of wither roses, which made it hard for them to write, and it made them get hurt. They also write where they got the elbow and knee pads, as seen in the remains video. Then Whespir goes on to write of a flower that leaches out onto other flowers. It also glows. Whespir touches the flower in the 14th entry, and then it becomes illegible, as said on the 15th page. It's burnt and torn and yada yada yada. So I think this flower is the same flower from literally everywhere. This one. The reason the rest of the pages are burned, I think, is that Whespir tried to write about the flower and what it did, but the flower controlled Whespir and made them burn the pages. Why? Well, the flower is a parasite. It says the flower leached out on the other flowers. So when Whespir touched the flower, there was probably some things that happened as the flower settled itself, because parasites are weird, but the flower wouldn't want any other people knowing about it, because then it can't spread, because people would be scared of it. So then why doesn't it spread to the other members of the SMP? Because Whespir's with them. Well, I think it's because Whespir managed to control the flower, or at least develop a symbiotic relationship with it. It uses Whespir as a host, but doesn't spread. I think the flower could also help Whespir, as shown how Whespir has feelings about a certain place or things, a main example being the nether box. An interesting thing about this, though, is that until then, Ross in the nether box did nothing to anybody. Except Ross, So I'll come back to that, but another reason why is maybe Whespir is trying to barely constrain it and keep it, control it and keep it from possessing or controlling Melody and any of the other peoples in the village or cove or whatever. That could also be why. Okay, so anyway, the whole theory about how the flower can give Whespir feelings about places ties into my theory about how Ross used to be free, but then was put in the box for protection. Not to protect Ross, but to protect everyone else. I think the flower remembers, Ross before he was trapped in the box, and tried to warn Whespir and get Whespir away from the box, because it didn't want competition, because according to my theories, both the flower and Ross can possess things. So keep in mind, this is a super weird magical flower, so yeah, I can remember things. The only thing remaining is, why did Whespir leave Melody in Melody's village? Well, I think Whespir left both villages for the same reason: unfair treatment from the government. When she left Melody's village, she left Melody behind, but Melody traveled a bit as well. Otherwise, they wouldn't have met at the cove. So there's one of 2 things I think that happened. Either Melody left as well because of unfair treatment by the government and did this completely separate from Whespir's decision, or Melody left to try to follow Whespir, but ultimately ended up failing until they met again at the cove. So anyway, that's all my theories about Whisper's past and how it fits together with Melody's past. I hope you all enjoyed. Have a great day, and bye!